So you have a hair that's about to attack you. Oh no, it's still attached.
Hilarious. Hi, and welcome to the Ruby Tuesday. Today we are starting a new segment, the Ruby Tuesday Book Club, and with me I've got Kay. You should know that we are avid readers. I am an author. Kirsten Kay reads a lot more than I do, and I should be reading a lot more. But there are some books that have really kind of just made us escape into another world. We love sitting down on the couch, grabbing a book, and just letting that world just invade our mind. And there are some books that just do that perfectly. So this is our first review for our new segment in the Ruby Tuesday, called the Ruby Tuesdays Book Club. I hope you enjoy it. Let us know if there's any titles you would like us to review. We're mostly going to be doing escapism, easy to read, fantasy, some adventure, that kind of stuff that we do. Maybe a few graphic novels if I really want to go there. We'll see where this takes us. But for our first one, we're not doing one title, but we're doing a whole mass of books in one story. So take it away.
I'm so excited about this. This was my birthday present from Ruben this year. And then he didn't see me for a month when I read them all. So it's here. Oh, not this one. Here they are. Oh, the gloriousness. This is the Throne of Glass series by Sarah J Maas. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Okay.
7
There are
books.
7 books in the main storyline, and then there is a prequel. I would suggest not reading the prequel.
Yeah.
First, read the 7, and then read the one before.
Mm-hmm.
If you end up reading, or someone just bought you the first title,
Throne of Glass.
and you got halfway through and you thought, no, this is not for me. That was me.
Nah.
Don't do that, because the first book is basically creating the world, setting up the characters, and there is the protagonist who, for me, is very childlike, very annoying, very teenage angst. There's a lot of drama llama, and I was halfway through it and I went, really? Like, really? But later on, it's amazing how the author has taken that first book and a little bit of the second and referenced back to things of that character because of why she is the way she is, because of why she is a very young assassin. That is the story.
Yeah.
Do you want to give the story? Because we haven't really talked about it. You kind of need to do it.
Yeah, so the story is set in a world called Aurelia. At least that's what we think the world is called. And basically what's happened is that there is a country called Ardalan, which is ruled by a king who became a bit power hungry, and there's been a war. And basically on this one continent, pretty much everybody has been invaded by Ardalan, and Ardalan now rules. And so you have these characters who have been displaced from various other countries within that continent. And it is the story of how they all eventually come together to fight the wrongs that were done and to try and restore the world to some sort of order. And I think what was really interesting is that as Ruben was struggling to get into it and was saying, oh, but it's so simplistic and it's so this and it's so that, I was like, just keep going, because it is so much more complicated than you think. So she starts out simple. She keeps it, it's just it's sort of like one person's story and the associated characters around that. And gradually it grows and grows and grows until they all interweave together, they all interlink together. And the situation that they're in it's not only that what happened, but beyond that and behind that, there's so much more going on that doesn't get revealed until later on, like, book 5, book 6, book 7 is where you're still getting reveals, and it's really, really fascinating. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I have to say though that the writing is not the best I've ever read. It's definitely teen fiction, which is kind of like my style anyway. I like to be able to not be too bothered about the language and just let the story flow over me, as I'm just imagining it and letting it go. I would struggle to read I did struggle to read Tolkien. Big words. I want the story to flow. When people get too bogged down in description all the time and they're over describing everything, every little thing needs to have a description, my brain just goes, nah, too much information. So, you know, this is sort of pitched. It's maybe a little bit not quite as...
It's not young teen.
No, it's definitely not young teen, because as you develop these characters, there are some sex scenes.
She looks at his muscly apex as it goes down towards his manhood, and she just longs for him. There is some of that.
Yes.
That made me go. And we were also reading out a couple of the books to each other.
Yeah.
And their voice gets softer and softer as you get to those, because we have teens in our house.
Yeah.
And the last thing we was like, he cupped her bosom. They're not romance novels, but it does feel like there are certain chapters or certain parts of the books, or maybe novels, where the author herself was horny, and she's gone, oh, blah, 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 blah. What about this? Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, definitely. There's book 5's probably, and book 6, and a bit in book 7. Yeah. So there's quite a lot of that.
Quite raunchy.
Yeah,
in
it gets a bit Mills and Booney.
Bit spicy.
Yeah.
For me, it took me a while to get into it, but I think past book 1, like I said, it starts to get really good. Book 4 for me has been the best so far. I'm still working my way through, but I'm excited about that now. So that really changed my tone from the beginning, when I was like, not sure I'm going to get through this.
I had to keep begging him, like, can I read to you? Please, can we read it?
And now I'm very excited to find out what happens in the storyline, because the world itself has been massively expanded. But what I was most surprised by, and this speaks to the writer's creativity, so whereas some of the structure in her sentences may be too long, or the way she speaks sometimes is probably not the way that I would write it, and I'm not a great writer yet, I'd like to be one day, is the characters that she creates not from the protagonist but from her enemies. For me, the strongest parts in the stories in so far are definitely the so-called enemies. The backstory that she gives to her characters are fantastic. You know, that old age saying is that your heroes will only be as strong as your enemies, or as the bad guys they have to fight. And so if it's just a generic I'm bad because I'm bad, then that doesn't give you a lot to work with. But here, I'm rooting for the supposed team. There is a team, and I'm not going to do spoilers, but there is a team that, for me, they're my favorite characters. Whenever the story goes back to them, I want the story to stay with them.
Yeah.
Which I think is amazing, because technically they're the bad guys. And then when there is an actual bad guy, they're so evil, and it feels like a day in 24 where your heroes are just surviving moment from moment, and then they have a bit of a reprieve, a breath of reprieve, and everything's all lovely, and then the shit hits the fan again.
Yeah.
That is the ride that you go on once you get past the building block, which is book 1, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't have a problem with book 1, but you did. So I guess, we're different, and I'm a bit more forgiving when I'm reading.
My time is precious, man.
Oh, I'm sorry. I love reading.
Yeah, so I'm going to give this a tentative A, because I haven't finished it. What would you give it?
I would give it an A minus, possibly a B plus. So I would lower my score ever so slightly, just because I have a problem with the ending, and I'm not going to say anything specific because I don't want to ruin anything for anyone. But if you have read the whole lot, you can do a comment about what you thought of the ending, but just put like spoilers at the top so that you don't ruin it for anyone else. But yeah, I mean, let me know what you think. I can't say anything, but yeah, just let me know what you think.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Should I read it?
Yes, totally.
But your face said
it's not a bad ending. It's got a proper ending. But I still have a problem with it.
Okay.
Okay.
So that is our first massive book. Normally we'll do individual titles, but as we've
or
got this...
not, because I've read a lot of trilogies.
whatever we're currently reading or what we want to go back on. And there's a couple I'm excited to talk about. One particularly that we really enjoyed as a family, which was an audiobook. But that's coming. On the audiobook side, there are pretty good audiobooks for this. So if you don't like reading, check out the audiobooks. I thought they're pretty good. A little bit slow in the voice. I tend to want to run along ahead of what the audio female, it's normally female narrator is doing. But yeah, I thought she was pretty good. So
You can put it at 1.5 speed.
Oh.
That's what my sister does, so she can read faster. No, it doesn't sound that bad. It's just slightly faster.
Oh, good idea. Oh, let us know in the comments below what you thought. Have you read them? Which was your favourite book? Who's your favourite character? What part of the world do you love most? Who's your favourite creature? Because there are very interesting creatures in this. And
I know my favourite.
I won't tell you anymore. Thanks so much for watching this book review. But until next time, remember,
live long and Tuesday. Dying of heat.